So previous lessons we had a look at how to solve simultaneous equation, okay, with linear equations and also linear and nonlinear equations. So today we are going to look at word problems involving simultaneous equation. Okay, when you're given a word problem, you are required to read, understand, and interpret what the question wants, what the question want you to solve, and what information is given. Okay, so let's have a look at a very short example here. So here we have Ein's Fruit Market. All right, so fresh fruits for sale. And today's fresh fruit menu we have oranges and apples. So you can imagine you and your friend went to Ein's Fruit Market, and you and your friend bought apples and oranges. So let's say, for example, you and your friend Tatiana. Okay? And let's say, for example, you bought 5 apples and 4 oranges, and that cost you $10. Your friend Tatiana bought 5 apples and let's say 5 oranges and paid $11. So how much does each apple and orange cost? Okay, so here you are basically given the total amount. They didn't tell you the cost of per apple and per orange, but instead the total amount. So how do we find the cost of each apple and each orange? Well, here the question, each apple and each orange are basically our unknowns. And how many unknowns there are? There are 2 unknowns. And always remember this, when you have 2 unknowns, you need 2 equations. Okay, 2 equations, and you're going to solve it simultaneously. Let's say if you have 3 unknowns, x, y, and z, you will need 3 equations. All right, so in this case we need the price of an apple and the price of an orange. So those are our 2 unknowns. So let's say here, let's introduce the variables. Okay, variables are just letters. So let's say let x be the price of 1 apple, and you say let y be the price of 1 orange. Okay, so how do we model this situation or this problem into simultaneous equation? Well, you bought 5 apples and 4 oranges, so that would be 5x, because x will be my apple. 5 apples and 4 oranges, and that costs you, not O but Y. Y equals to $10. And then Tatiana, your friend, bought 5 apples and 5 oranges, so 5y equals to 10. All right, so that's how you model simultaneous equations. Okay, well, we can try to solve this. So you will say that's equation 1 and that's equation 2. So how do I solve that? Well, first things first, I would look at the coefficient. Do I have similar coefficient for term x and y? Well, I can see similar coefficient in my x term. So therefore, and here the sign here is positive and positive, so I'm going to subtract the two equations. So 5x and 5x will give me 0. 4y minus 5y, that will be minus y equals 2. Oopsie. Can I write it on it? Equals 2. Oh, sorry guys, that should have been 11. So, so that would be 0. 4y minus 5y, that's minus y equals 2. 10 minus 11, that will be negative 1. So therefore, my y here is equals to 1. So how do I find? So y is basically the price of one orange. So that would be $1. Now I need to find the price of apple. So that would be when y equals to 1, substitute in one of these equations. So let's just take 5x plus 4y equals to 10. So 5x plus 4 equals to 10. X is equals to 10 minus 4 over 5. That will be 6 over 5. Sorry guys, I'm squeezing in here. Okay, so therefore x 6 over 5, that's basically 1.2. So therefore your answer, I'm going to write it here. Okay, price of one orange, and orange was your y, is $1, and price of one apple is $1.20. So those are my two unknowns, and that is what we want to find. They want you to find that how much each apple and each orange costs. Okay, so always remember that when you have two unknowns, you will need two equations, and you will solve that simultaneously. Same thing when you have three unknowns, you need three equations. Four unknowns, you need four equations. Okay, you will need this information until you reach university. Okay, I hope you're okay with that simple example. Now we'll go through exam type of word problem. All right, so let's have a look at exercise 2. Jason cuts out a rectangular plank, area 72 centimeter square and perimeter 34 centimeter. Right, so we and they want you to calculate the length and width of the plank. What are my unknowns here? Okay, what does the question want you to find? They want us to find the length and the width. So those are my two unknowns. So I have two unknowns. I need two equations. So where does the equation come from? Well, if you read the question, you are given two information. One was the area of the rectangle, and another one is the perimeter. Okay, perimeter is sum of all the sides. So with how to construct that equation, well, okay, first let's label variables for it. So exercise 2, let's say let x be the length, okay, the length of the rectangular plank, and then let y be the width. So x and y are the unknowns that we need to find. So now what are my equation here? I'm not given, but I'm given two information. Well, how do I find area of a rectangular or a rectangle? Okay, so you have basically a rectangular plank. They tell you that area is 72 centimeters square and that the perimeter is 34 centimeter. So how do I find the area of a rectangular plank or a rectangle? It's basically length times the width. If my length is x and my width is y, so I will have an expression that says, oops, oh no. Okay, so how to find the area? Basically, the length times the width. So I need to get an expression of the area. So area will be x times y, the length times the width. And area is given as 72 centimeter. So there you go, 72 equals to xy. That will be my first equation. Next information that we have is the perimeter of the rectangle. And how to find perimeter? Sum of all the sides. Sum of all the sides, basically, that will be x plus x, that's 2x, and y plus y, that will be 2y. So perimeter, we have 2x plus 2y. And perimeter, we are given as 34. So 34 equals to 2x plus 2y. And that's my second equation. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is to use substitution, as I can see that this is a linear and that 72 equals to xy is a non-linear. So I'm going to use substitution. So I will say from equation 1, okay? So from equation 1, I'm going to make y the subject. So from equation 1, y is equals to, if I make y the subject, I bring x to the other side, that becomes 72 over x. And I'm going to substitute this into equation 2. Alright, so now I'm going to substitute this y into equation 2. My 2y here, the y will become 72 over x. So I'm going to write it down on this side. It will have 34 equals to 2x plus 2. So my y now becomes 72 over x. Okay? Now, because I have a fraction over x here, I want to get rid of that fraction by multiplying the whole thing by x. You don't just multiply this term by x. Okay, it's the whole thing, or else it won't be balanced. So I multiply the whole equation by x, and what I get is 34 equals to 2x squared plus, so the x here, when you multiply it to this term, the x cancels out, and therefore what I get here is 2 times 72, and that is 144. So now I have 34x. I missed out the x here. 34x. So now what I get is a quadratic equation. Can you see that? You get 2x squared. I bring 34 to the other side, so that becomes minus 34x plus 144, and one side will be 0 because I have brought 34 to the other side. Okay, I will try to factorize it, but before I try to factorize, I will divide the whole equation by 2. Okay, I will divide the whole equation by 2 to reduce it. And dividing it by 2 will give me x squared minus 17x, and this will give me 72. And can see that we can factorize it. You get x, you have 72. The factors of 72, you have 9 and 8. Minus 17x, so that will be minus and minus. So therefore, x equals to 8. Or what you do is you can equate it first. So x minus 8 equals to 0. X minus 9 equals to 0. So x equals to 8 and x equals to 9. Alright. Okay, so those are your x values, but here we have substitute y equals to 72x, so do not stop there. So when x equals to 8, y is equals to 72 over 8, so that will be 9. And when x equals to 9, y is equals to 72 over 9, so y equals to 8. So here there are two possible answers for your x. X is equals to 8 or x equals to 9. Alright, and y also has two possible answers. Y can be 9 centimeter or 8 centimeter. Okay? Alright, so given a word problem, you need to first understand what the question wants. Okay, what is it asking you to do or to solve, and always look at the information given. Alright, so what is it that you want to solve? So in this case, we have two unknowns, so you know that you need two equations. If you need two equations, you need two information. Okay, so that information in this case were the area and perimeter. You know the formula for area and perimeter of a rectangle. You should be able to express it into an equation. Alright, so that's exercise 2. I leave exercise 3 for you all because we've done something similar to this. It is to do with points of intersection. Alright, a curve and a line. And then well, exercise 4 is also straightforward. Basically, instead of just giving you find the coordinates of the point of intersection of the curve, they have described it as, well, you have a sailing boat, and the sailing boat is going in circular motion, and that the equation of circle is 2x squared plus 4y squared plus 3x minus 5 equals to 25, and that you have a speedboat that intersects the circular motion of the boat. Okay, so they want you to find the point of intersection where the boat will intersect the circular motion of the sailboat, and that equation is given here as y minus x plus 1 equals to 0. Okay, that's a linear function, and the equation of a circle is here, which is a non-linear function or equation. Okay, so that is also the same like exercise 3. All right, so we'll solve that simultaneously. Why? Because points of intersection, basically you're talking about x and y coordinates. Those are your two unknowns, hence your two equation from equation of circle and the equation of the line. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do exercise 1. Try to interpret what is it that they're trying to find. So here they ask you to find the ages of father and son, and the information is given in the question. So I want you to interpret it and write an expression for, or write an equation for those two information that's given. Okay, exercise 5, right. Here you're given the curve y equals to px squared plus qx passes through the points 3, 6 and 1, -2, and they want you to find the values of p and q. Again, P and Q are your two unknowns. Okay? Two unknowns, you need two equations. So where do the two equations come from? Well, if you look at here, this equation, you say, aha, teacher, but I see four unknowns here. Do I need four equations? In this case, well, it's telling you that the curve passes through the points 3, 6, 1, minus 2. Okay? Let's say, for example, let's say that is the curve of, sorry. It should be a symmetrical curve, yeah? Okay. And it tells you this curve, it passes through the point 3, 6, and it passes through the point, let's say, 1, 2. So meaning that these points are on the curve. So what you can do is to substitute this x and y value into the equation, and then you can see that if you put y equals to 6, it will be here. X equals to 3, you substitute into the x in the equation, and then you're left with two unknowns, P and Q. Okay, let's try that. So your equation y equals to px squared plus qx, so you're going to substitute the point 3, 6, and what you get is 6 equals 2. So you substitute 3 into the x squared here, 3 squared, so that will be 9p plus, put 3 in there, and that will be 3q. That's your first equation. The next one, it passes through the point 1 minus 2. So y value minus 2 equals 2. Your x value 1. So 1 squared is just 1. So that will be p plus q. Okay? And that's your second equation. I will leave the solving bit for you, but I've shown you on how to tackle this question. Alright? When the curve passes through points, meaning those points are on the curve, so you can substitute those points into the equation, and that is what we have done. We have substituted the 2 points into the equation that is given, equation of the curve here, and now you can see that your x and y, they are values. So my unknowns are p and q. So 2 unknowns, 2 equations, and you can solve that simultaneously. Alright guys, so yes, I think for exercise 3, 4, and 5, you have the equations, so you should be able to solve them. For exercise 1, I will get you to interpret the word problem into equation yourself. It should be pretty straightforward. I just need you to read, understand, okay, and get those equations and solve it simultaneously. And the next one is that you have a very short homework here. Basically, instead of solving, I have given you the different types of question here. These are the word problems, and I've given you the answers. All you need to do is to match it, put in the right or the correct simultaneous equation into the columns. Okay, it's just, this exercise is to expose you to many different types of word problem and how to interpret that into equations. Alright guys, thank you very much. That will be all for this lesson. Thank you.